Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely intense spiritual text that details a fascinating yet deeply tragic karmic tale. We're going to unpack the story of a man named Hong Jinlong, exploring a narrative that blends extreme worldly ambition, supernatural justice, and the ultimate, devastating cost of betrayal. So, let's kick things off with a pretty wild question that sets up the entire mystery of our source material. How does a highly educated, wildly successful, wealthy man end up facing such a bizarre and severe spiritual condemnation? It's the core puzzle the text throws at us right from the jump, demanding that we look past his earthly success to uncover the hidden crimes of his soul. And that brings us to this shocking number, 60. According to the text, this isn't just some poetic metaphor. It represents the exact, quantifiable number of lifetimes our protagonist is sentenced to live, specifically as a female dog. It's a highly specific and frankly terrifying spiritual sentence. To figure out how he earned this unimaginably harsh fate, we have to look at the confessions he makes in the afterlife.
Part 1. A Soul in Torment. The Confession in the Ninth Court of Hell.
To understand his sentence, the source drops us right into the middle of his afterlife punishment. Hong Jinlong's soul is brought into the underworld in chains. He's explicitly described as being escorted by a general of hell, begging the officials not to touch his deeply agonizing body, crying out, "I have no face to see the world. I am in extreme agony." It sets this incredibly somber tone as he starts narrating his earthly life, realizing way too late the gravity of his choices.
Part 2. A Mother's Deep Sacrifice. The Cost of Ambition.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the narrative rewinds all the way back to his fatherless, super-impoverished childhood in Keelung, Taiwan. His father passed away when he was just 7, so his mother moved him to the city to give him a better shot at life, surviving literally by scavenging for trash and scrap paper to pay his school fees. But Hong, he felt deeply ashamed of his poverty. He'd be eating simple radish omelets, while his wealthy classmates had these lavish meals. He complained to his mother, practically demanding to fit in, and her response? She took her meager, blood and sweat savings to buy him beautiful new school uniforms and nice shoes, while she continued to wear ragged clothes with unkempt hair.
The source meticulously tracks how his shame snowballed into a calculated timeline of lies as he went through school. In primary school, when his mother brought him lunch, he lied to his classmates and called her Ah Po, pretending she was just an old neighbor. In middle school, when it rained and she brought him an umbrella, he told his friends she was his aunt. And by high school, she was completely relegated to an obasen, just some neighborhood lady. He was constantly renaming his own mother, erasing her true identity to protect his fragile pride. He even made her wait down the street so no one would associate him with the ragged woman collecting garbage.
Part 3. The Ultimate Betrayal. Trading Family for Fortune.
By the time he hits university, his ambition morphs into an irreversible spiritual crime. He executes this chilling step-by-step master plan to erase his past entirely. First, he secures a job at a factory. He works hard, gets the boss to like him. Then, noticing the boss's wealthy daughter, he decides she's his golden ticket to high society. Knowing his impoverished mother would ruin his chances, he actually kneels before his boss and begs to be adopted, falsely claiming he's a complete orphan whose parents are long dead. With his newly fake social status, he successfully marries the wealthy bride. He literally traded his living mother for a fortune.
And then we hit the absolute breaking point of his betrayal. About 3 years into his marriage, his mother, who just misses her son, comes to visit his lavish new home. Naturally, his wealthy wife starts asking questions about the old woman who keeps showing up. To protect his lie, Hong confronts his mother. He drives her away in tears, screaming, "You crazy beggar woman, don't come here making noise anymore." He treats the woman who bled for him like a nuisance, like a stray dog. Knowing how much he valued his reputation, his mother leaves, weeping silently, choosing never to expose him. Which brings us to the number 36. See, Hong is living it up in absolute stolen luxury. Delicacies, mansions, expensive cars. He even eventually inherits his wealthy father-in-law's entire estate. He thinks he's won the game, but his earthly success is abruptly cut short. At the age of 36, while out for a drive with his wife, he's killed instantly in a fatal car crash.
Part 4. Judgment in Hell. The Unveiling of Sins.
Following his sudden death, the text takes this harrowing turn straight into the underworld. Hong is dragged directly before the judge of the dead, Yama, who forces him to stand before the karma mirror. This is a mystical mirror in the underworld that reflects the undeniable truth of a soul's past actions and sins. Looking into this mirror strips away all of Hong's earthly lies, his fancy suits, his wealth. It forces him to watch exactly how he treated his mother, treating her worse than a dog. And there is absolutely no hiding from the reflection of your own soul.
The revelations the mirror brings up are just devastating. Physically, demons pierce his heart daily with knives and forks, screaming that he's heartless. But the emotional truths are so much worse. The mirror reveals that upon hearing of his death in the car crash, his mother was so completely heartbroken that she took her own life. And then the ultimate spiritual tragedy is revealed. Hong was actually a high monk in a past life. He had achieved massive spiritual progress but lacked perfect temperance, so he was reincarnated to finish his learning. Instead, he got completely blinded by worldly greed, squandering a rare, sacred chance at spiritual redemption.
Part 5. The Karmic Sentence. Reaping the Sown Seeds. So, this brings us to the ultimate consequence, the completely impartial spiritual law of cause and effect. We hear his desperate, terrified realization of the sentence handed down by the judges. 60 lifetimes as a female dog. How long will it take before I can have a human body again? He begs the spiritual officials for help, but he's told quite bluntly that the karma has already been created. The mirror doesn't lie, and the debt must be paid. The explainer makes it super clear that this specific punishment isn't just arbitrary torture, it's a deeply poetic, forced lesson in empathy. He treated his mother like a stray dog eating scraps, so he must become exactly that. He is sentenced to be a female dog, so he's forced to experience the primal desperation of a mother's love, having litters of puppies from the lowest, most vulnerable position in society, literally eating the scraps of others. He has to learn the empathy he completely lacked in his human life.
Part 6. The Moral Message. The Root of All Virtues.
Finally, let's look at the ultimate takeaway here. The entire text acts as this dramatic vehicle to define and enforce an ancient cultural principle: filial piety. It's the philosophical and moral principle that out of all human virtues, honoring, respecting, and caring for one's parents is the absolute foremost. The text explicitly warns that if you only chase superficial wealth and forget your roots, even if you attain the highest worldly success, you'll leave a legacy of rot, and the karmic cycle will absolutely catch up to you. I'll leave you all with the provocative thought straight from the text's final warnings. Will we remember our roots, or will worldly ambition blind us to the sacrifices of those who raised us? Hong Jinlong traded his soul for a few years of luxury and lost his humanity in the process. It's a really powerful reminder from this fascinating source material to look at our own lives, our own gratitude, and the true cost of our ambitions. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you something deep to think about today.